views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hola everyone, welcome to Open BxRx Remote, brought to you from my living workspace, Chari Executive Suite, keeping you updated on our New York state of quarantine and the impact it's having on our community. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche every Friday. Here's what's coming up in today's show. Leading things off, we'll speak to Manhattan Borough President Gale Brewer about a waste system method to track COVID-19 along with rent freeze for New Yorkers. After that, we'll learn about the importance of maintaining a healthy diet during quarantine when we speak to health and nutrition expert and chef Nancy Addison. Then we'll hear about the Folk Artists Relief Fund and how you can help raise funds for folk and traditional artists who have lost income due to the stay-at-home order. And later on in the show, Bobby C brings us an up-to-date with the latest headlines in the world of sports. And lastly, we'll be joined by Open Artist Spotlight, CULTOFDMAC, a Bronx native singer-songwriter and multi-instrumentalist who's going to give us a sample of his eclectic sound. So sit back y prepárate. All this and more is headed your way because now we are officially open. Welcome to Open, everyone. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche for the next hour, encouraging you to get social with us online, especially during these social distancing times. You can tweet us and follow us on Instagram at BronxNet TV and like us on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. And of course, you can always find me on Twitter, FB, Instagram, Instastories, and LinkedIn at Rhina Valentin. Love to hear from you. So as COVID-19 continues to loom across the nation and tracking the virus seems to become the priority, there's a rent crisis in New York City. And while the rent moratorium prevents New Yorkers from being evicted, now more than ever, rent freeze is being advocated. And joining us to share more on both these issues, we welcome Manhattan Borough President Gale Brewer. Hi, Gale.
Hello. How are you? It's wonderful to be here, and I love BronxNet, and thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you for being here with us. And thank you for the work that you continue to do. I mean, you're always out there in the forefront, really making your voice heard, literally. And so I'd like to open up having this discussion regarding this suggestion that you've been making to both the mayor and the governor with tracking through the waste system.
Yeah. So the issue here is we have in Manhattan something called the Solid Waste Advisory Board. It's the 50 residents of Manhattan. It's charter mandated. And they literally think, thank goodness, pre-COVID and during COVID and after COVID, what is the way in which Manhattan can be more environmentally safe and healthy? And we all know right now that's more important than ever. So one of the suggestions, which actually came from around the world, is we don't know where COVID came from. Every time I pick up the newspaper, it's, this in China, this travel, you don't really know. Is it an animal? Is it a person? And nobody really knows. So One of the suggestions has been from other countries is our wastewater. Obviously, we have sewage treatment plants. Sometimes the sewage goes into the waterways because there's an overflow. So we are asking the mayor and the governor, the obviously Department of Environmental Conservation runs our wastewater treatment plant. So we're asking that they look at this because other countries are thinking that's a place to look for this god-awful virus. We don't know, so we're waiting to see. But I would say the environmental issues in general are incredibly important. We're also concerned about recycling of organics. It's a cut in this year's budget. We know the budget is in bad shape, as you know, but we want to make sure that those who have already started to get the organics out of the sanitation and all of the piles that go into the normal sanitation route. It can go to our community gardens. It goes to healthy places. So we're trying to think of how not to get rid of that particular project and to have it continue to be collected. So these are just some of the issues that came out of SWAB. Of course, there are many, many more. As we reopen, how can we be healthier?
Right. And I'm so glad that you're still pressing on that issue, because at the end of the day, this whole experience it seems to almost feel as if though Mother Earth is really calling upon us to be a lot more mindful.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I know you're all about the eco-friendly approach into our way of living. I mean, considering it's Manhattan, I mean, there's a lot of things that are kind of unavoidable, but there's nothing wrong with at least making an attempt to be conscious of it.
Yeah, there was an article in the paper today about the issue of trucks and cars, because obviously if you look at the maps, you see less pollution. And that's because we're not driving, because we're not coming to work, and there's no commerce here. Interestingly enough, according to the press reports, it's the trucks that are the biggest challenge. The cars bring down the pollution rate a bit, but I know in the Bronx and Manhattan, because the trucks just deliver all over the place.
Right.
So I think we need to look very, very seriously, given the asthma and the other underlying conditions that we're all now much more concerned about, and look at the trucks and what they are spewing into our atmosphere. So these are things we've learned the hard way.
Right.
But we've always known that trucks are a problem, but we now know that they really need to be addressed.
Yeah, good. It's good in a sense that now the car industries are going to really have to figure out how to innovate that hybrid and electric car system that is kind of like in its beginning stages. But since you mentioned commerce, I wanted to have a conversation about the rent freeze aspect of this whole thing, because I mean, yes, everybody is aware that there's a moratorium in place, and yes, while people cannot be evicted in this present moment, I understand that there are landlords that are waiting for the moratorium to be lifted so that they can start their processing.
I mean, we do get calls about that. The issue is, it's very frightening, because hundreds, thousands of people have lost their jobs. You only have to look at how many people are applying for unemployment insurance to know how many thousands and thousands of New Yorkers and Americans have lost their jobs. So the moratorium on evictions goes until August 20th. But that doesn't mean anything in the sense that you're still going to have to pay the rent after that. So it's nice to have an eviction moratorium, but what happens on September 1st? And so we're here to say that between the federal government, where the House, not the Senate yet, has passed money for renters and for mortgages, the state legislature is considering the same. It could be a moratorium, or it could be money for renters and people who have mortgages. We're also concerned about small landlords, because we know that if the tenants don't pay, then they're not going to be able to pay their bank. So this is a very vicious circle, and we want to make sure that Manhattan or the Bronx on September 1st, there aren't hundreds of thousands of people in housing court. I've been there with tenants over the years. We do not want that. So we are very, very focused on what is the way in which state legislature, federal funding, local one-shots, etc. People need to stay in their homes. We don't need any more homeless.
Right.
And we know that 40% of the people for the last month couldn't pay their rent. Thank goodness there's a moratorium on evictions. This is a very serious problem. And it exists for small stores. It exists for small businesses. They too need to come back. So we have a really big challenge here that has to be addressed. And I appreciate you asking that question.
Well, it's only going to get worse as time continues passing by, and we're still on this pause, and we're still, at operating on a limited basis. So right now, for anyone who may be watching and is concerned about what steps they should take, do you have any suggestions?
Yes, I do. I mean, we're also concerned about undocumented, because we know that in some cases they can't get some of these services. Yes, the answer is you need to have access to the many, many legal services that exist. Certainly our office, 212-669-8191 is actually my direct, or G Brewer at manhattanbp.nyc.gov. We can put you in touch with legal services in your area, and to the credit of the mayor and the city council, many, many of them are funded just for this purpose. So there is a way, but you must have an attorney at your side. And for the commercials, we suggest, because I'm very concerned about small stores and mom and pops, we suggest that you talk to your owner and see if you can renegotiate something so you pay over time. I've also suggested for residents, and it's been picked up by others, that you put down a security if you did. So maybe that security could be used instead of paying the rent. Pay it now, use the security, and then that's a way of helping for your rent so you don't have to pay as much. This is a real challenge, and every aspect, every opportunity for government to intervene, to be supportive, has to be there, because we cannot have more homeless.
I agree. And the other aspect to this is that, well, New York is built on small businesses, and that applies to small businesses as well. So thank you. Thank you for all of that wonderful advice that you provided. I mean, at this point, it sounds to me like everybody needs to start establishing relationships with attorneys. That's what it sounds like.
Well, I think that's a way to begin, only because we have in the city of New York, thank goodness, a wonderful group of legal aid and legal services attorneys who are there to be supportive. And they have been all through this pandemic, and they will continue. And many of them want to do this job. That's why they're doing legal services.
Thank you. And thank you for making sure that people are aware that this service is offered for free through the legal aid services.
Yep.
All right. All right, you guys, once again, thank you, Honorable Manhattan Borough President Gale Brewer. For more updates on the Borough of Manhattan via, Manhattan Borough President Gale Brewer, you can visit her at manhattanbp.nyc.gov, and you can also follow her on Twitter, which is at Gale A. Brewer. Okay, so we have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll get some healthy eating advice to shave off those quarantine pounds. Don't go anywhere.
Young people care about the spread of coronavirus. Well, we know that people with underlying medical conditions over the age of 60 are at highest risk, but they've got to get it from somebody.
So we're asking everyone to be selfless for others so that we can protect those who are most susceptible.
Not going to bars, not going to restaurants. It all just means physical separation so that you have a space between you and others.
For more information on how you can social distance, please go to coronavirus.gov.
Everyone, welcome back to our remote version of Open. So the stay-at-home order has made it easy and justifiable to snack all day. And in addition, the feeling of worry and uncertainty invites eating habits referred to as stress eating, leaving many inconsistent with their diets, myself included. So joining us to give us some health tips to help also build your immune system, we welcome our regular guest to the show, who's hailing all the way from Texas, author, health and nutrition expert, and chef, Nancy Addison. Hello, Nancy.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here.
We are happy to have you. Normally, you would be flying in from somewhere into studio, but it's lovely that we have this technology in which we can still just converse and connect on this level. So before we even get into this, just share a little bit about how the pandemic has impacted Texas, and you for that matter.
Actually, I think Texas has done really well. You know, people down here get a lot of sunshine, and vitamin D is one of the best ways to stay healthy. And we get a lot of sunshine down here, and it's spring, so it's warmer and people are getting outside and getting fresh air. And if you get sunshine on your skin without any sunscreen, you can get the vitamin D that you need. The sunscreen will prevent that, but you'll also get, in fact, it's the cholesterol in your body that turns the sunshine into vitamin D, but you also get sulfates, which partner up with cholesterol and help carry oxygen throughout your body. So getting at least 20 minutes every day in the middle of the day is really recommended. And
That's wonderful.
And people who are older or have darker pigmented skins actually need more of it.
No, that's wonderful advice. I was going to say, because I think now that the weather's warming up over here in New York, that everybody kind of like pivot their thought process and at least make an effort to get out and take in the sun. So thank you for that. And that's coming from a New Yorker who's now experiencing the spring weather. We're finally experiencing the spring weather. And so the other thing is this new term, rather, it's probably an old term, but it's a new term for me. It's stress eating, right? And there's it's almost like inevitable that we're going to be living in our refrigerators if we're cooped up, right? I find that myself even, I tend to visit the refrigerator a lot more frequently than I would on a regular day where I'm working and leaving the house and so forth. But I do want to say that on a personal note, I have implemented a new practice, and that is I've been drinking ginger with lemon almost every morning. And that, of course, is to make sure that I'm building my immune system. And I know you had some reservations about me doing that.
Right. I hope you can hear me because you just cut out.
I'm sorry. Did I lose
I'm
everybody?
sorry. You cut out, and I didn't know if I was still there. So I apologize. I think that is such a great thing that you're doing. And I have been drinking ginger root tea as well. But one of the things I've learned is that our body gets overloaded with something if we do it every single day. So we need to switch things around. So if you're doing lemon a lot, I would switch it off with lime or grapefruit juice squeezed into it, just for variety, because your body really craves variety in seasonal foods. And that is an awesome way to get the vitamin C, which is also a great way to stay well. It's probably the best thing you can do is just do like a vitamin C every day, or just eat a fresh piece of fruit every day and get that vitamin C. And you want the fiber when you do this, because that helps support your immune system. And we want to have the strongest immune system possible. And that fiber is what the immune system feeds on. So that's really important.
So the ginger combined with the lemon, however, you're recommending that I alter the lemon with lime and grapefruit and just switch up the citrus aspect of it.
Right. And if you're doing it first thing in the morning before you have anything else, I'd also say have it warm, because that will help. Overnight, we detoxify and it can collect in our organs. So if you drink warm water first thing in the morning, it flushes those toxins out. And that will also open up your blood vessels and get your blood flowing. And so it really does do amazing things for your health, because, we're 66 to 72% water. And I think staying hydrated is a key factor here. And if you do that first thing in the morning, you get hydrated and you really detoxify. And I think that's really important for building a healthy immune system.
I also understand you have some snack suggestions, right? Because again, as I mentioned, it's kind of like inevitable. We're going to be snacking a little bit more frequently, but at least we should do it consciously. So what do you have for us today as a suggestion?
Well, I know a lot of people are eating this way because they may be feeling anxious or something like that. And magnesium is one of the best things that can help you be less anxious and calmer, and also to sleep better. And so magnesium-rich foods are a really good thing to snack on. And what's funny is raw chocolate is really rich in magnesium, and it helps boost your serotonin levels. The one thing I would say is really watch how much sugar is in your chocolate, because the sugar alone can shut down your immune system. So you want to eat more like raw cacao nibs or something like that if you're snacking. But also things like sprouted seeds, or seeds like pumpkin seeds that have a lot of zinc in them, or sunflower seeds, sprouted nuts and seeds. Those have really healthy, good fats in them that help support your brain function, but they also help lower your cholesterol that is bad, and also can help with blood pressure. And it's just packed with nutrients. Seeds are sprouted, and I like sprouted ones because there are toasted ones. If they're roasted or toasted, it removes the phytic acid that can keep you from absorbing the nutrients in it. So those are one of my favorite snacks. And I like to combine the mixtures of them and eat some Brazil nuts with them, which have a lot of selenium in it. So you get a lot of nutrition that way, and really great types of protein as well.
Oh my! So seeds is the way to go, and it's actually good for snacking, because you could just grab them in bulk. So I think we have time for one more tip, but it has to be quick.
Okay. Well, I would say, make sure you get some form of exercise every day. And I would say meditation is really important. If you even meditate 15 to 20 minutes a day, 3 or 4 days in a row, it can actually boost your immune system up to 50%. And so it calms your mind, and it's really good. And so Dr. Joe Dispenza has some really good free ones on YouTube that are easy to do, and you can pull those up on his official website. And
yeah, all right. Thank you. Coming from a meditator myself, so I understand the value of that. And thank you for sharing it with our viewers, and thank you for taking the time during your natural stay over there in Texas.
Oh, I miss y'all. I can't wait to come up and see you again soon.
We look forward to that as well, Nancy. Thanks for being with us. For more tips with Nancy Addison, you can visit organichealthylife.com. We have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll hear about a relief fund for local folk and traditional artists. Don't go anywhere. Everyone, welcome back to Open Remote. So every sector of the world has been affected by this crisis, especially financially. And I want to point out specifically the art community. So our next guests are aiding with trying to preserve while assisting many folk and traditional artists who have lost their source of income due to closures of museums and other art venues. And City Lore, along with other art organizations, have come together under the consortium of Catch. And what they're doing is they're helping raise funds for these artists in this particular folklore community. And so joining us to talk more about the Folk Art Relief Fund, please welcome City Lore folklorist and Bronx Music Heritage Center Director Elena Martinez and Wabafu Garifuna Dance Theater Director Luz Solis. Hello, ladies.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Hi. Good.
Yeah, I know. It's as good as it gets. I personally enjoy this time of connectivity. I mean, that's one of the benefits I get from what I do for a living. So I'm really excited to see you all. And I'm also always excited to see how people live, right? Because we get to visit each other's living quarters.
Yes, definitely.
And I see Luz got dressed for the occasion. I love it. So Elena, I have the utmost admiration for you, and I applaud you in your efforts to preserve and to be a stand for the traditions of any culture that honors their roots. And so let's talk a little bit about the impact this whole situation has had on this community.
Well, so City Lore, along with the Bronx Music Heritage Center, and a few other organizations, the Caribbean Cultural Center, Mano a Mano, the Folk Arts Center from the Brooklyn Council of the Arts, and Center for Traditional Music and Dance came under the consortium of CATCH, the Center for Art, Tradition, and Cultural Heritage, to raise money for artists who work in the folk and traditional arts. Because a lot of these artists, folk and traditional artists, these are artists that work in genres that are really rooted in the cultural life of their community. And, practicing these shared aesthetics that are part of their community. And a lot of times these artists, they don't, they don't have access to a lot of the funds that a lot of other artists do. As after the pandemic started, we've seen a lot of resources for jazz musicians, dancers and things, all these resources for grants and stuff. But a lot of times folk artists fall through the cracks. Like they might not, Luz does dance, Garifuna dance, but a lot of times the dance grants are open or for modern dance, so she can't apply for them. So a lot of the times the folk artists fall through the cracks in sort of getting to resources, and also a lot of times a lot of the traditional artists tend to come from immigrant communities where there might be language barriers to grants or technological barriers. So we were just trying to have a way to raise some money. And also to create a way that's easy for artists to access to get a little bit of relief money. And we started the GoFundMe page, which we met our amount.
Right.
We're trying to raise more, and we also have some grants out to raise more money as well. We did put the first round of applications out to get grant applications from artists,
Right.
and we received many applications, and we'll be going over them soon for the first round. But we hope to continue this because the pandemic has shown that a lot of artists need some safety nets, but I'm sure this will be an ongoing thing. This will be something that's ongoing because artists always need the safety nets.
Right, and I acknowledge you and appreciate the fact that you made it your business to be that place, that hub, for lack of a better word, for them to be able to seek any information and guidance and assistance. And so, I speaking of the pandemic and this time of reflection, I want to have a conversation with Luz about her choice in making sure that she continued to excel in her cultural roots. Let's talk a little bit about the Garifuna culture, which happens to be a really large population in the Bronx. Luz.
Yes, thank you, Rhina, for inviting me, and thank you, Elena, for this moment. It's very important that we really have this kind of conversation because it keeps us a little bit in tune with our present in the world, because this is really, very, very worrisome this time. Here in New York, there is a large Garifuna community here. In New York City, particularly in the Bronx, there's about 100,000 Garifuna or more in the Bronx. And of course, Brooklyn, there's a large community of Garifuna people from Honduras, Guatemala, Belize. And half of the time, we don't know much about how to apply for funding to keep the culture going. However, the people are proud of their culture, and they practice it at home. We find schools to sometimes gather. So we practice in the summer. We take advantage of the parks to gather and play the drums and sing the songs. I don't know what's going to happen this summer because of the social gatherings. It's going to be very difficult to our people. It has been very frustrating to our people because we're very social. You're connected at all time. The language is a problem, like Elena say, understanding how to, do this for grants, for continuing getting that money. And the Bronx Cultural, the Bronx Music Heritage Center has helped the Garifuna community very much here in the Bronx. And Elena and Bobby, they're very inclusive of very different culture. Not only the Garifuna here in the Bronx, but all cultures. I've been to the Bronx Music Heritage Center and see the Mexican dance company and the mariachi and seen bomba plena of all times from Santo Domingo, from Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic's music. They are so amazingly inclusive. So it's very important to keep a certain centers open because our culture is part of our spiritual being. It's part of our connectiveness to ourselves, to the world, to our existence. And so it's very important, yes.
Yes, and thank you. Thank you for all of those words of wisdom, because this is certainly a time for all of us to reflect on who we are and what we're about and where we're going.
Yes. Yes.
And the only way we can do that is by studying and learning about our
Right.
history, which is what you guys do. You keep it alive, and we acknowledge you for that as well. So Elena, before we go, can we just share some more of the logistics regarding anybody who may have their own company that there is in need of assistance?
Well, so as far as the applications for the folk arts relief grant, the first round is over. We'll be working on getting the first round of grants out, but we'll post it when it's time to have another round of applications. But in the meantime, for people, please, we do need to get more donations. So if they go to catchnyc.net, catchnyc.net, they can go and donate, and so we can keep this going and work on making sure we get something out to help the artists in any way, just some support that we can help the artists out there all through New York City. This right now, the grant is focused on New York City artists, and so we really need that help to keep it going. So
right, and I understand that Luz is also giving classes through Zoom, right?
Yeah, I'm teaching a 6:30 class through Zoom, sponsored by Casita Maria and the Rhina Coalition here in New York. It was first initiated at the center. But once the coronavirus pandemic started, I have been doing it through Zoom, and it has been very successful. So it's another way of continuing teaching the culture through Zoom, just like the way you're doing here, Rihanna. It's so awesome that you're bringing us together because this is another learning experience, how we can keep the culture going through this program that you do.
Yes, well, thank you. And thank you for being here with us, and thank you for sharing it with our viewers. Elena, tú sabes que yo te quiero mucho. I mean,
Igualmente.
Yes.
It's good to see you. Good to see you. It's good to see you both, even though it's through a computer screen. And I just want to say, at the Bronx Music Heritage Center, as you know, Bobby Sanabria is also one of the artistic directors. We've been doing online programming, and Luz will be featured soon. So hopefully you guys can come and keep track and check out. You can get to see some of Luz's work soon there online.
And so that's at the Bronx Music Heritage Center's
Facebook.
website?
Our Facebook, at BX Music. So we'll have that soon.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. That's the way of the times right now. We have to entertain each other through, the social media and through whatever means of being able to connect through video. So thank you. Thank you both for being here with us. And for you guys, I just want to say, for more information on the Folk Artist Relief Fund, you can visit catchnyc.net. It's going to continue. It's going to be ongoing. So be sure to visit the website catchnyc.net.
Most at risk for coronavirus: people over 65, people with underlying medical conditions like heart disease, chronic lung disease, asthma, diabetes, people undergoing cancer treatment, and people with weakened immune systems. What should you do if you or a loved one is at higher risk? Avoid close contact with people. Avoid crowds. Stay home if you can. Wash your hands frequently. Learn more ways to protect yourself and others at coronavirus.gov.
Joined now by the voice of the Brooklyn Nets, Chris Carino. Chris, so great to have you on the show. Always great to see you. How's everything going?
Everything's good, Bobby. Nice to see you in your art museum.
I see that you're outside taking advantage of the good weather these days.
Oh, it's gorgeous. I mean, I noticed I'm representing Fordham. I knew this was in the Bronx. Had to represent my home borough where I went to college. And if I can't be on Rose Hill right now, I could be in my backyard.
Well, very nice. The summer weather is returning, and it looks like there's a good possibility that the NBA could be returning, that there is momentum building in the association to try to have basketball back, which as a basketball broadcaster, I think is probably pretty good news Tell us a little bit about what's going on in the NBA.
It's almost like a rain delay where you got to be ready just in case they decide, hey, let's get back to work. We're gonna jump back into it. But right now, to be completely honest with you, I don't think the league knows exactly what they're going to do at this moment. I don't know how we will broadcast the games when they come back. Will we be on campus with these players? Will we be in a studio? We'll be in our homes. We really haven't. We all these things are on the table right now. But I really do feel, just as the country is starting to feel a little momentum to open up, I think the league is getting itchy to get back in it. And hopefully we can resume this season that got suspended sometime this summer.
So players back at the training centers, but not the Nets training center. So I think pretty clear that the way things are right now in New York City, it makes sense for them not to be back.
Bobby, I think that's like, a lot of people compare this time to 9/11, and I'm not trying to make a direct lineage to it, but there are some comparisons in this area in terms of the way the rest of the country maybe views what's going on and the way we do here in the metropolitan area. I mean, literally across the street from the Nets practice facility is where they're storing refrigerated trucks that they could use as morgues if they need them. You have so many thousands of people have lost their lives in this area. And I think there's more of an impact in this area. Maybe we're a little more sensitive to what's going on in the New York tri-state area than they are in the rest of the country. So I don't know how quickly the Nets facility is going to open. They may have to go somewhere else if everybody else is opening. But I think you got to be cautious, and then again, wait for the data and see what's happening when the country starts to open up.
I think that's a big question right now, is whether or not sports should even be back. And it seems like you have some people that are very split on the topic. Some people suggesting that sports is healing, that it should return. And then so many people, especially NBA stars, I thought it was interesting the comments made by Shaquille O'Neal about just chalk up the season, let's walk away and wait till next year.
Yeah, you have to be sensitive to, just look at the families that were affected. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns lost his mother. That's just recently. But again, that's a debate that's going on throughout the country right now, and when it's appropriate to open up. We were in San Francisco on a West Coast trip when the suspension occurred, when Gobert tested positive. And we were getting ready to broadcast the game with no fans. San Francisco would shut down. They said, we're not going to allow fans into the game. And we were sort of looking forward to it in a weird way, because it was going to be this unique experience. Like, how do we bring you this game and there'll be no crowd? How is that going to sound? Logistically, how are we going to do it? Are the players going to hear me doing play-by-play courtside? Is that going to be weird, interesting, or weird fun, good? And then all of a sudden we didn't get to do it. But, you wonder how it's going to appear on TV and how it would be received. But I do think if they could find a way to do it, it would really be beneficial.
Chris, would you feel safe going back to the press box when the games return?
I think if the precautions are taken by the experts who say this is how we have to do it, then I'll go back to work if that's my job and I'm told to do, and my workplace is saying that we are making it safe for you, or as safe as can possibly be, then I will do that. And if they say it's going to be safer for everyone if you do it out of a studio somewhere, then that's what we'll do. I just think that, but again, I have some health related issues, but not a compromised immune system as far as I know. So, that's just, I'll do what my job entails as long as I know that my employer is looking after my safety.
I'm not sure if our fans at home know this, but of course you were born in the Bronx, even though you grew up in Yonkers and went to Iona Prep and Fordham University. And I thought it was great to see on your Twitter that your son is up and comer in this business as well.
Much like myself at that age, the guys that are WFUV now, we were living and breathing sports as kids. And no matter what you do, I know how incredibly fortunate I am to have gone from my public speaking career at Iona Prep to my radio career at Fordham, and now to stay in the New York area, be the voice of a team for almost 2 decades. all something I used to do for fun when I was 10 or 11 years old. So I know how incredibly fortunate I am to do that. I would love to see my son, if that's his passion, which I think it is, be able to do that. And every young person out there growing up in the Bronx or anywhere that this is reaching, you know, if you have a passion for something and you have skills that can be refined, can be learned, you may face enormous obstacles, but you can still fulfill those dreams. And if anybody has ever looked at my story and want to take away something from that, that's what it would be.
That was definitely where I wanted to go in closing our interview today, Chris. I mean, I tell people all the time, I think you are one of the best at play-by-play in the business, but also in having known you, I think one of the things that stands out to everyone that knows you is you are a great person and you've accomplished so many great things with your foundation. I was hoping that you could educate those that may be unaware about what's going on there and how they might be able to contribute as well.
Well, I appreciate that, Bobby. Thank you very much. I was diagnosed with a type of muscular dystrophy when I was in my early 20s, right around the time I was leaving Fordham. And I kind of was noticing things while I was at Fordham. And, you know, think about that, being that kid getting out of college, embarking on what's a very competitive field and very difficult to break into. And getting that news and that diagnosis, you have a muscle wasting disease. There's no cure. There's no treatment. It's going to get worse over your life, and you have to be able to deal with it. And you know, that was the obstacle I had to overcome. And I put my head down and I did the work I needed to do, and I learned a lot from it as a person. And got to about 40 years old, 2010, and realized that this was something I needed to address head on. And I had made enough of a name for myself that I needed to start spreading awareness and try and do what I can do to find a treatment or a cure for people who are going through this. And we started the Chris Carino Foundation for FSHD. We were set to have our 10th annual gala this year. It's probably not going to happen the way we normally do it, maybe do something virtually right now. But we've raised money, over $1 million over the last 10 years that's gone directly to research projects. And that's it. Nobody in my staff takes a salary or we don't have rent to pay or overhead. We bring it in, we give it to researchers, to scientists. So during this time, I've had a chance to have some meetings with researchers and, do some of the things that I don't always have time to do, and focus our efforts on where the money's going to go. And, if people go to our website, chriscarinofoundation.org, they can see what we're all about, what my story is, what we've tried to do over the years, and, hope to inspire some people. As I mentioned, trying to overcome things and achieve their dreams, and also try and cure a disease, which is, as we're learning now with the talk of COVID-19 and working with the FDA and the NIH and the CDC, and it's not that easy to get these things done. The work they're doing in a short period of time is absolutely miraculous. And to make miracles, you have to put in the work, and that's what we're trying to do.
100%. Chris, keep up the great work. Thank you so much for taking time with us today, and I can't wait to hear the voice of the Nets back calling the games. It's always great to listen to you.
Can't wait to see you in the press room, Bobby. Thanks. Take care.
So taking the sounds of the streets and making them his own while creating a unique musical style, blending everything from electronic pop, indie rock, and R&B, all with the intent of raising humanity's frequency within his self-proclaimed style he refers to as Uptown Sound. We welcome Cult of the Mac.
Hey, what's up, Rhina? How's it going?
We're good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
Oh my gosh, I am so looking forward to having this conversation.
Yeah, me too. I've been looking forward to it. Yeah.
Let's start with the name, CULTOFDMAC.
Yeah, CULTOFDMAC. You know, it comes from, well, there's a few things that it comes from, I guess, you know. Some may say that when I was a kid, all my friends called me DMAC, and then I just formed a cult, and that's why it's that. But I think it's something a little bit deeper, you know. I like to think of dimactical light as a miniature sun that resides in everyone's chest. It's a unique mosaic of beauty. And when we all focus on it, we can grow it, and we can really feel a bit of a connectedness to each other and to this world. So, you know, you can sort of make it what you want it to be, but that's what I think.
No, it's awesome, right? I gotta tell you, you have me searching high and low for dimactical light. I'm like, wait a minute. I've never heard of dimactical light, but I so love it. I was like, oh my gosh, that is so me. Yeah. I just pray on that light and just magnify it and expand it to the point that it becomes its own continent. Yeah,
exactly.
So dimactical light. And obviously that's why you're Cult of the Mac.
Yep, you got it.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your music and how this is fused into your music.
Yeah, I mean, it's fused in subtle ways, I'd say. Maybe some songs a little bit more than others, you know. I try to have a conscious message with the songs, but I also try to write about personal stuff as well and just get kind of deep into my own psyche and by extension, hopefully the psyche of humanity itself. So, yeah, the dimactical light and the Cult of DMAC is kind of an entity unto itself, and the songs are not necessarily entirely separate, but they can exist in their own reality as well, you know?
And so I understand that you're going to be premiering a show on BronxNet on Wednesday, and I was curious to know if the show was going to also incorporate those little comedic skits that I was reviewing on your website.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how the show started, really. I was, you know, planning on releasing some music this summer. I still am. And, you know, with this whole quarantine coronavirus thing, it sort of derailed some of the timetables that I had. So myself and my girlfriend, Aoife, we started just making these little skits so that we could try to promote the Cult of DMAC persona and sort of spread awareness before we put the music out. And Michael Max, you know, the guy from BronxNet, I've known him for a few years, and he saw one of the skits and got in touch with me and asked if we'd like to put together a little show, and we did it, and now it's happening. It's pretty exciting.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I love that you're not only putting out comedic material. I love that there's that consciousness layer added to it. And then, of course, the music component. I mean, that sounds like a recipe for a great show. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about it, you know.
And so I know that you're going to be singing a song for us that references breathing. Let's talk about that. You write your own music?
I do. Yeah.
And was this one written through while you were in quarantine?
It was pretty early on. Maybe the second week I started coming up with the lyrics. It was sort of a catharsis for myself. You know, I find oftentimes when I'm in a bit of a tough period, I will write more. So when this all happened, it was a little overwhelming. You know, I was bartending for a while and I lost my job and was just at home, and this song kind of flowed out of that experience. So it's the most recent song I've written, and I'd say it's the one that reflects the time we're in the most.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's not only about breathing from a physical perspective. It sounds like you wrote it from a metaphorical perspective.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, it's a funny story with this song. I was walking around in Fort Tryon Park, which is kind of in Washington Heights, Inwood area, and they have all these little signs up in the park that just have, goofy little things for someone who's in the park just enjoying themselves. And one of the signs says, "Remember to breathe." And I kind of took that to heart and made that the hook of the song.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And then you use all these other elements. Like, let's talk about that. Because you've got your own thing going on here. You're like a one-man band show, everything.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff there. I've played in bands for years, and I've had a lot of different roles in bands. I've been the primary frontman. I've just been like an extra guy there. I've done a lot of recording and sound, and I've bartended for like 13 years, maybe even longer. I can't remember, but I just feel like this is the culmination of a lot of stuff that has happened in my life. And now it's just like, all right, let's just put it all out there. Let's do it. No holding back anymore.
So it sounds like you have been able to experience the different levels of performance and or being in the industry and or of service. So because of what you just shared and wearing all these different hats during different periods, what advice would you give to someone who may be going through something right now that is in this particular business, in the business of service and artistry?
Yeah, I would say for someone like that, see if you can, one, just try to find some amount of calmness and peace in the present moment, because looking at the future so much and trying to really plan is pretty tough right now. We don't know what's going to happen. So, just try to be centered in the present moment, and then just try to find the thing that you love doing the most and put energy into that, because I think we're coming into a new phase, and I don't know what it's going to look like, but we're going to need people who love what they're doing. So.
Right. Well said. And thank you. And you're going to give us a nice preview of what people can expect on Wednesday's show, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. So we're going to take a quick break, everyone. But when we return, Cult of DMAC, he's going to perform for us. So don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, welcome back to Open. It's now time for this week's Open Artist Spotlight. Here now to perform his song, Breathe, please welcome Singer Songwriter CULTOFDMAC.
As we find ourselves alone, let's take a breath and let it go. Deep within our minds at home, we face the stillness time has sown. Too much to know, so many headlines to scroll through. Fear and anger, stubborn thoughts, don't let them hold you. Self-reflection, sudden loss, stripped down to bone. In the silence, change is sought, then hope is shown. It's alright to grieve. race against all that we've done. Clutching dollars won't keep us alive. Relax the grip and then we might survive. Remember to breathe. It's alright to grieve. Let go of all you see. Remember to breathe. There's a new day dawning. We can never go back. There's a new way calling. We gotta face that fact. Remember to breathe. It's alright to grieve. Let go of all you see. Remember to breathe. Remember to breathe. It's alright to grieve. Let go of all you see. Remember to breathe. There's a new day dawning. We can never go back. There's a new way calling. We gotta face that fact. There's a new day dawning. We can never go back. There's a new way calling. We gotta face that fact.
Hashtag facts. Remember to breathe.
Yeah.
Bravo, CULTOFDMAC.
Thank you so
Bravo.
much. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys, once again, to check out the premiere of Culture TV that's happening on Wednesday, May 27th at 8:30 p.m. on Bronx Channel 68 Optimum and 34 Fios in the Bronx and online. You can visit bronxnet.tv. And of course, for more of CULTOFDMAC's unique musical vibe, you can check them out at CULTOFDMAC.com. All right. So, bueno. That is our show today, mi gente. Thanks to all of you for tuning in and to our guests, of course, for coming through. You can tune in to the recablecast throughout the entire weekend. If you missed any part of today's show, it will recablecast tonight and 24 hours a day at bronxnet.tv. I'm Rhina Valentin, and from all of us here at Open, may the universe provide paz, prosperity, y amor. Stay Bronx strong, safe, and healthy. Adios.